Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel and to this chapter that should be the last chapter of the build of the P51, which is upside down now. So what I've already started to do, I've put in some more reinforcements in the tail section. I've covered up here with some wood, let's see if you can see it, and left some slot for the control rods to come out. And I've started to do the complicated part of putting the tissue covering on the side to do the connection. I've done similar on the other side, or no, I've done the wood, but I still haven't done the tissue. Oh yeah, I have done the tissue, there it is. Somehow to get it to look kind of decent. Other things that I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to figure out the oil cooler exit, which is this, and then do basically all the tissue covering, and I probably need to paint here the oil cooler entry. I might need painted black or something like that, and I'll probably do then the bottom side first, then flip it over and do the top side. And another challenge is also to do the markings. So I've got some idea to do some experiments. Let's see if I do them basically to practice if I'll paint them on, or I don't have printers and things like that I can use, as some of you do use, that you print out the nice decals and the transfers, but let's see what I can come up with. So anyhow, I'll keep you posted as progress comes along on this. It will be a bit of a long process because it's slow, and hopefully at the end of this we have a P51B Mustang almost ready to fly. Just a brief update on the tissue covering on the underside of the Mustang. So I started from the back, looks okay. I managed to put on the radiator escape hatch, or let's say the where the air comes out, and I've got some holes there in the wood in front of it, so hopefully it will actually help the air to flow from under the propeller around the ESC and things like that and come out here. And then a mistake that I probably made, or not probably, for sure I made, I was trying to use just big pieces of tissue to cover the radiator and the underside, but then when I was trying to shrink it with the water glue mix, then it wasn't really looking good. So what I did, I cut out the panels, and I'm going to put in individual panels, or maybe long lengthwise, not from side to side, but lengthwise strips of tissue. Let's see if that works a little bit better. Here on this panel, I think it kind of worked for the front already. Wherever there's a big difference or there's a big curve, the shrinking of the tissue can't cope with it. So what I'm going to do now is try to do this middle part, and I've realized just a few minutes ago actually that I don't have here anything where the tissue can actually stick to. So I'll probably put some small strips of balsa somehow to allow the tissue to stick onto something, because if not it doesn't stick. Right, I had to do it also with some pieces here that you can't see now, because I just put on that tissue, but progressing slowly, step by step, because it has to dry, then you have to trim it, then you have to cut it out, then you have to fix it and things like that. So it's a slow process, but I think within a day or two I will have the underside pretty much done. And finally I've got the underside of the Mustang covered with tissue. I've painted in also in black the entry of the radiator, which is actually, there's no entry whatsoever. And I've managed to put also this part, which is always a complicated part, where the connecting rods come out and things like that. So I've managed to put that in green. I'm now still considering maybe to cover up a little bit the servo gaps. I might put just a little bit of tissue. If I don't put a piece of balsa across, it wouldn't work so well, so I might actually do that also, something that I can remove if I need. And what else? Yes, and then I've just put some water and glue mix on it. As you can see, the wing, maybe you can't see it, I can see it, but I don't know if you can. The wing, I'm not going to hit it with this, but the wing does have the clear lacquer on it, the fuselage doesn't. So I'm having an idea of what to do to somehow get it on it and not get the clear lacquer everywhere. So the next steps in terms of the tissue covering and the things will be to turn it around. We'll start with the top side with a green color that should end up something like this. This is the battery hatch that I just dropped, and we'll continue with that. Then another experiment that I was doing is the markings. So let's see if you can see it. Here the markings, this is the old stab an elevator that I decided to redo. I don't have a printer or anything like that to make the nice prints that some of you make and the decals and things like that, but I can go to a print shop and print things out. So what I did, I just had printed on normal paper the markings, and then on this side I glued it on with the white glue, the same water mix, and on this one with a glue stick, a normal glue stick. I think the outcome in the end is pretty much the same. It might actually be cleaner with the white glue, and then what I did a one thin layer of clear lacquer, and that seems to be working. So the only problem I have with these is that they look black and white. They were printed in color, but they look black and white, so I'll probably redesign it a little bit with a different shade of blue so that it's more visible, because I would like it to be a little bit more blue than just this very dark blue. So or maybe not, I'll see. I'll check again the picture, and I'll decide based on that. But that's probably going to be then one of the last steps. So in any case, now I'll continue with the top side of the fuselage. And an update on the tissue covering of the Mustang. As you see, the fuselage is already on one side covered. The tail part is always the most difficult thing to make it look kind of nice, but it kind of worked out okay. The only bad thing that I'm not liking very much is that whenever the tissue overlaps another bit of tissue, it leaves that dark mark, which on the wood it's kind of okay, but sometimes that doesn't belong there. But I don't have any other way of doing it, so I try to avoid them as much as I can, but it is what it is. This is then also for the nose, and now I'm going to turn it around. Let's see if I turn it around live and I don't break anything, which is easier said than done. And now for the other side. It looks kind of interesting when it's kind of half tissued, but now that the next steps are going to be, again, I start at the back, try to figure out, cut a very as detailed or as accurate as I can piece for each section, and then go tissuing forwards. And then when I have that, then I put then the top strip. The top strip I'm going to leave for then. So it's starting to look already like what it has to look like. And maybe also I'll show you then the nose hub, or the propeller hub, sorry, that I painted green. This is where I think I would be missing what some of you call balsa filler or sand filler, something like that, because it does sometimes, in some places I do see then the graying of the wood. It doesn't really matter, it's okay, and it's anyhow not going to fly with it. We've kind of agreed, because it's so unbalanced that it's just going to rip itself apart. So it'll be flying like this, kind of a little bit ugly, but that's how I'll attempt to fly it. And then when it's at home just sitting around, which will be most of the time, then I'll try to put the prop hub on it just for looks. So anyhow, I'll leave it like this, and then we go with the tissue covering and the markings, for which, now that I still have you, I have somewhere, but I don't have them at hand, the new printed out stars and bars. And some more visible progress. So I've pretty much finished with the tissue covering, which does take time. This one is still a little bit wet. I probably would need to still wait a little bit for it to dry up, and it's not shrinking enough as I would like it to, so it might actually end up looking a little bit weird, but it is what it is. What I'm doing then, I'm preparing then to put some clear lacquer. It says it here, clear lacquer Sinteleng lac, I think that's Hungarian for some reason. And I'm also cutting out the stars, the bars and stars for the markings, and I've masked out the electronics so that we don't get clear lacquer on it. Taken the prop off also, and I think actually for the hub I don't think I need to put any lacquer on it, because it's, I might actually, if I'm doing it anyhow, then I might actually put some lacquer on it, that it looks nice and shiny. And so when, as I say, when that dries down, I'll probably put it out on a piece of cardboard, do the underside of the fuselage first, maybe 1 or 2 layers. When that dries up, and it's relatively fast to dry and very smelly, then I'll turn it around, do the top part. I've also masked off the windows here behind the cockpit, because if I get lacquer on the clear plastic, then it'll get all fogged up and it's not so nice. and that's why I don't have the cockpit either. That's why the cockpit with our favorite pilot is at the moment not in place, and I'll leave that out. So let me, well, the steps will be, I'll put the lacquer on, let it dry, then I'll glue the stars on, and then I put another layer of lacquer on top that the stars are also somehow protected and against humidity and against any kind of possible water droplets that might fall on it. If it rains on it, it's ruined anyhow, but at least a bit of protection. So let's see how that goes. And finally, after 8 months and a little bit of building, here is finally the P51B, it is, yeah, P51B Mustang. So I've finally managed to put it all together. I've got the markings there, as you can see. It's the markings, I think, from the US in the Pacific Theater at the end of the war, 44, 45 or something like that. And I also managed to put that number there to make it look good. And also, if I pick it up and I show you the underside, there's also somewhere, let's see if I can show you, also there one more star with the bars. And what I have not done yet, I have not tested everything. I've just put in the battery so it's connected. So let me try to do a bit of a run up. I have managed to put on the spinner again. The spinner, if you remember last time, it kind of knocked the whole thing out of cable, so it won't be used for the flying. But let's see if I can do a control surface check. So elevator up, very good. I think it got unhooked. It got unhooked because it's too strong. So I've got to maybe fix that. Let's see the rudder. Let's see if you can see the rudder there wagging in the back. And the ailerons that last time gave us a bit of an ugly surprise. Ailerons. And let's try the engine slightly. That's like, I would say, you can probably see it here, it's like 15%, 20%, 25, 30, and then it starts to vibrate a lot, so I'm not going to do it too much. But in any case, as I say, like it's the spinner will then come off for the actual flights. So I can't do the weight and balance yet either, because I've got the undercarriage on that will also come off, and the spin off that will also come off. So before I ever get to do the flight, and it's going to take some time, it's going to take time. Basically, it's going to be hanging probably from the ceiling somewhere, decorating, and when I get closer to the moment of flight, then I'll do the whole trimming out. Before I do that flight, I still need to fix the cab, get the Hurricane to fly, get the Antonov to fly. I've got a lot of homework with the flying things. I'm focusing on building more than flying. But in any case, now what I'll do is probably take it out and do a bit of the engine runs and things like that, just to have some nice images and see the thrust. And that's pretty much it. So soon, not soon, probably next year, the soonest, Cliff will have the opportunity to fly this, so we all trust in Cliff, and we leave it there. So thank you everybody very much for following along these 8 months. It's been very long, very long, a lot of problems with the build, a lot of issues from the beginning. It's all about fixing things, fixing. So I think next project is going to be hopefully a smaller one and a bit of an easier one. This one was a complex one. As always, thank you everybody very much for following and for commenting, and I'll see you next time.